Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, which is entitled Time-Saving Tips for Using TaxAct Professional. I'm Jessie Dolmage. I'm part of the marketing team here at TaxAct Professional, and I'll be walking you through today's webinar, showing you a demonstration of the product, and then answering any questions at the end. If you do have questions at any point through the webinar, feel free to enter those in the questions area of the toolbar, the GoToWebinar toolbar, on the right-hand side of your screen. So hopefully you can see this next screen, which we're going to go over today 4 main areas: practice management tools, imports and fast data entry options, master information, and helpful resources. I do want to remind everyone that the federal preview editions are available now for download, and if you haven't already ordered, you can order at any time on our website or by calling our sales line, and that phone number will be available at the end of the webinar. And once you've downloaded that software, you can get a head start on tax season. So for example, you can import last year's returns, whether you used TaxAct last year or another software provider, and you can get a head start on, as I was saying, for the tax season. So setting up your practice preferences and your invoicing information, everything like that, you can get a head start on now so that you have less to do come tax season. So, practice management tools. First, I'm going to go over Client Manager. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with TaxAct, that is essentially like your home base within your software. So this is your Client Manager, and from here you can add returns or open an existing return. I'm going to open an existing return. So this is how you navigate to and from your returns, and then you just, as you can see, you just clicked on Clients again to get to the Client Manager. Now you can customize Client Manager. So to do that, you right-click anywhere on the screen in Client Manager and choose Prepare Preferences. From here you can decide what columns you'd like to appear, and conversely what columns you want to disappear, and what order you want them in. You can also choose if you want the sorting to be in a certain way here. There's a lot of options. I also want to point out here that if at any point you want to go back to the defaults, just click this button up here. So that's an easy way to customize your view of Client Manager. So I just have the default view on, and note there's even a place for comments, questions that you have for the clients, whatever you need to do for that particular client if you'd like to use that. I also wanted to talk about organizers. So to get to those, you can go straight from Client Manager and click Print. Right-click on Client Manager, select Print, and then Organizers. So from here, you can choose 1, 2, or all of your clients to print organizers for. And then you have the option to print all the organizers, and there are 5 of them this year, or you can just choose which of the 5 you'd like to print. So in this case, I'm actually just going to print all applicable organizers. So if you've imported last year's return, then any information from last year's return will pre-populate onto the data organizers that we're generating right now. So you choose your organizers and you print. And then I'm going to choose PDF. And actually, I'm not going to generate that particular one right now. But you can print those as a PDF, and then save to your local drive or to the cloud if you're using our enterprise online networking option. So with the organizers, I do want to go back to that quickly. With the organizers, again, there are 5 different ones. So the personal information organizer has basic information such as name, social security number, address, date of birth, all of that kind of basic information. The second organizer is income organizer, and here you can choose which one or which sections you'd like to print within that income organizer. Then you have the deductions organizer and the accompanying itemized deductions organizer, the credits organizer, and the payments and banking. Payments and banking is for information related to how they would like to receive their refund or pay their liability. So those are the organizers that you can do right now and get a head start on collecting information from your clients in order to prepare their returns for next year and to do year-end planning with them. Next, I'd like to cover the print center. So you've seen a little bit of that here. So again, you can click anywhere on Client Manager to go to the print center. And I'm actually going to just go to, let's say, returns. So here you can print all of your client returns or just returns for one or a select number of clients. So if you were to do this, and you can choose whether or not you want to print or not print all of these other documents, and whether you want to mask the private data on those returns. From here, you can also print reports. So there's a whole series of reports here that you can print for each client. You don't have to. And so when you're ready to print, you just, of course, click print and select whether or not you want to do a hard copy or a PDF. I also want to point out here that the instruction letters, you can print those from here as well as the invoice. You also have the option of going to these other tabs. So we were already in Client Organizers. The consent forms you can also print here for the bank products if you're enrolled with one of these banks. And then you can also print labels from here. So if you're sending hard copies of documents to your clients, this is a very easy way to help reduce some of the manual workload there. And then here are client reports that you can generate. So all of these are also available in here as well. So that is your print center. That's a very easy place that you'll find handy when you're wanting to print a specific document or, of course, create a PDF and email it to your client. A reminder, you want to transmit that information over a secure network. So if you, for example, use our Client Exchange web portal, that's a secure way to exchange those documents. Otherwise, using Adobe, you can add a password to your PDF, and that's a good way to help keep the information secure that you're transmitting with your clients. Next, I'd like to talk about, with the mailing label, since we're here, I'll just mention that we have a partnership with Nelco that provides and produces mailing, the paper and envelopes and all of that kind of thing for tax professionals. We have a relationship with Nelco. And for more information, you can go to our website. if you click on the Resources tab, you'll find information in that drop-down menu. Next, I'll go over a couple enterprise-specific features. And the first one I want to talk about is Document Manager. So this just gives you an easy way to save electronic copies of your client's tax documents alongside their return. Now, whatever you have in here is not transmitted via e-file to the IRS or state agencies. So just keep that in mind. You're not transmitting anything saved in Document Manager to the taxing agencies. This is just for your record keeping. So you can attach virtually any file type to this. So as an example, I have a PDF, and then I also have a CSV file where you can't preview it in Document Manager, but you can open it through Document Manager. In this case, it'll open through Excel. So one thing that someone has asked recently that I wanted to make sure I mentioned was that this information is encrypted. So it's saved alongside your client's returns, and all that data is encrypted. So if you're worried about, this information just being easily available, it's not. It's encrypted alongside your client returns. Enterprise users also have the option of backing up their data to TaxAct secure servers. Now, this is only for enterprise users who are storing their data locally, not on TaxAct secure servers by default. So if you are using local networking as a enterprise user, you go to File, Backup, and then you can choose to either back up all of your client returns or your preparer information. So by preparer information, I'm talking about your master information and all the setup options that you've established for your software. Another practice management tool that I want to go over is Client Exchange, which I mentioned it just a bit earlier. So this is just on our website, but I wanted to make sure that you saw where you can find more information. So it's on our website. You go to Resources, Grow Your Practice, and then Client Exchange. And then that's how I got to this page. And then on here you can see some screenshots of what that secure web portal looks like. So essentially think of it as a safe filing cabinet for you and your clients to exchange tax documents electronically. You have a password. You actually access Client Exchange through your secure TaxAct account. So it's that same account where you log in and download your software. And then you invite your clients to create accounts. And then once they've created those accounts, you guys are good to go to share documents throughout tax season. So Client Exchange is sold on an annual basis. Think of it kind of as a subscription. So you have access to it through October 31st of each year. If you use and I'm sorry, I'm looking at a comment here. I hope you all can see my screen. I'm actually in the program right now. All right. So let's see. Okay, so everyone should see my screen. I'm assuming you are. Okay. So I'm going to assume that you can see my screen. Otherwise, please enter something in. Oh, you have not seen anything. Okay. So I'm going to start over here, and I'll give you a a modified, shortened version of this. So I started with Client Manager, and from here, think of this as your home base. So anytime you want to navigate between clients, between returns for one client, this is where you want to go. So in Client Manager, you can modify and personalize the different columns and information that you see here. So to get to this menu, I simply right-clicked using my mouse and selected Prepare Preferences. On here, all the columns that are displayed are listed in the right column. Columns not displayed are listed in the left. Now you can remove or add, up to you, and then choose also how you want the order to appear. You can also reset all the defaults from Client Manager or for Client Manager from the screen as well. So that's a nice way to be able to get specific client information quickly without having to go into their actual returns. Another thing that I showed earlier was the organizers. So to get to those, right-click again on Client Manager and go to Print. From here, you can select all of your clients, or just one or a few. And then you can select either to print all the applicable organizers, meaning they actually have data from last year's return to pre-populate into this year's organizer, or you can just print selected ones based on what you know about that client. So you can select your different organizers here. As I mentioned earlier, there are 5 of them. Last year, the information was combined into 1 or 2. This year, it's organized differently and more efficiently for your sake and for your client's sake, so you can fill out so your client can fill out the information faster, and you can input the information faster because it goes with the flow of returns. So those are your organizers. I also wanted to point out this is our print center, so you can access printing your client returns from this window as well. You can choose to print their invoice, their letters, their instruction letters. You can also choose to mask any personal information on the Fed and state returns. As well, you can print labels from here, mailing labels, and then you can also generate client reports. One other thing I wanted to mention on this Client Returns tab, you can select reports, and if they're by default, they're all selected, but if you only wanted to print the federal withholding summary, you could do so here. So that's the print center. All right. I also wanted to mention on our website, we have, I was showing screenshots of Client Exchange. So Client Exchange is our secure web portal that you and your clients can use to exchange tax information. So the way that it works is that you access Client Exchange through your secure TaxAct account. So it's the same account that you use to sign in and download your software. Your clients, on the other hand, you send them an email that has a unique link. They click on that link and they create their account, and then you're free to exchange, you and your clients are free to exchange tax documents. On this page on our website, there are some screenshots that you can check out, some additional information, and also an infographic that breaks down how the process works. And that's something we recently added to our website, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. So if you happen to want to purchase Client Exchange, you can do so within your TaxAct account. So when you sign in to your account, click on the tile that says Client Exchange, and it'll give you instructions from there. The other couple of things that I wanted to show within the program were two specific features that are in Enterprise only. So Document Manager, you can store the electronic versions of documents alongside client returns. Now these, again, these documents aren't transmitted to the states or the IRS. This is for your record keeping only. You can, it supports just about any file type, so Word document, Excel spreadsheet, PDF, JPEGs, anything like that you can store alongside your client's returns here. And to add something, you just go to New Attachment. The other thing in Enterprise that I wanted to point out was the backup. So if you're not working locally as an Enterprise user, you can back up your data to TaxAct secure servers. And this is at your discretion. So if you want to do this daily, you can. If you want to do it once a week, you can, or multiple times a day. It's completely up to you. So to get to that option, go to File, Backup, and then select Client Returns. And if you haven't saved your preparer information, your master information, you'll want to do that as well. So those are in our Enterprise Editions. There are also several other features that you get in Enterprise Editions, and for more information about that, you can go to our website and look at the information for Enterprise. Moving on, I want to talk about imports and fast data entry options within the software. So in order to import last year's returns, let's say you use client or TaxAct last year, you can import your client returns by clicking File, Import, and then go here, and then you'll be asked to note which, where you saved last year's returns, and it'll walk you through all the steps. I won't do that here, it's several screens, but it's very easy. You just click on a few radio buttons, and it'll walk you through the process. If you did not use TaxAct last year, you can still import information from last year's 1040 returns. So you do the same thing, go to File, Import, Prior Year 1040 PDF Data. And here's a list of all the other softwares that we import PDFs of 1040 returns from. And as you can see here, you want to allow for some time per client return. So if you know that you need to, you know, for example, if you're taking a 30-minute break, that would be a good time to import some of these PDFs. The limit on PDF import is 500 returns, and the limit on importing TaxAct client returns is 5,000. Although the TaxAct import is faster, the same common sense applies. So if you're going to be away from your desk for, you know, a couple hours, that might be a good time to import all of last year's returns. You know, if you need to get into the program and do some work, you know, in 5 minutes, maybe you just import, you know, a few returns. And that, the speed of the process is gonna depend on, especially if you're using PDF import, will depend on your internet connection and how many files you're doing. So just keep that in mind. If you're importing last year returns, it may take some time, but it's well worth it. Next, I want to talk about imports for W-2s. So let's go into a return. So if I wanted to import W-2s, again, I go to File, Import, and then W-2 information. And then from here, you can add. And I also want to mention, if you don't, even if you can't import a W-2, you can always use a quick entry method. So this is just a super easy way using, you know, the the actual format and layout of the W-2s that you have in hand, you can just quickly type the information in this window. Conversely, if you have a newer preparer in your office, maybe they're not as confident about entering information like W-2s because we have several screens, quick entry screens, they can use a step-by-step guidance. And notice here, as I enter the information in this field, it's also entering down here. If you modify the information in the form, within the form here, you'll want to make sure that you, after you've completed the information in one field, click over to the next before continuing so that it saves. So that's a nice feature. Okay, I'm going to go back. So if you want to import W-2s, that's where you start. You can do the same with K1, Schedule K1, and then stock. So your investment information can be imported directly from these providers. So there are 7 total. But if you don't see your client's brokerage listed here, no worries. You can also download a CSV file of their transactions and then import it into TaxAct. Now I'm getting this window because this feature will be available in early January when all of the federal forms are released, and that is available. But that's a very easy way. Again, if your client does not use any of these 7, no worries. Use the CSV file to import those transactions. There's also a stock assistant. So if we go back, and I'll use this opportunity to show you. So if you're looking for something, you can type it in the Answer Center, which is available through the Q&A and not in the form queue. You can look up information here. You have the Jump To links and the FAQs. I use the Jump To link. So the Stock Assistant is more of a heads-down worksheet type of entry option that you have. So if you don't have a CSV file, you can't do the direct imports from a brokerage, this is an easier way to input that information quickly. You also have the option of importing trial balance reports, and I only have the 1040 program installed currently, but you can find that trial balance import in our business programs, the 1065, 1120, and 1120S. And you would navigate to that in the same way that you do to the imports in the 1040. There are also quick entry options similar to that W-2 form. There's also quick entry options for Form 4562 information. Next, I want to go over master information. So to get there, I click on Prepare in the main navigation, Master Information, and then you can go to any of these specific ones, but I'm going to go to my master form data. And from here, this is where you can establish the default amounts that you want to charge for each form. There's quite a list here. You can add line items here. And then you can also navigate to the different state master forms as well. You'll also want to set up your billing invoice information. So you can choose not to use the federal charge by form. There's a lot of different options on here, and you can at any point, even if you do decide to use these master invoices, and instruction letters. With the master invoices, you can customize those if you need to for particular clients. Instruction letterhead, options here at the top, your choice, and then there's different options here. Be sure to check these out. Take some time to look at all the options on here because it could save you a lot of time during season. To have all that stuff set up from the get-go will just make your life a whole lot easier when you're in the thick of and throes of tax season. So that's where you can revise your master information for invoices and charge by form, as well as your instruction letters. I also want to point out, under Prepare Preferences, so we saw this earlier, the Client Manager. Under Miscellaneous, there's various options that you may want to take advantage of here. So, for example, only showing the last 4 digits of SSNs and EINs in Client Manager. How often do you want to refresh your client list? Also, whether or not you want to have it default when you open returns to Q&A or to forms. And then these other options as well. The preparer tips, I do have to admit, I actually like to read those when I open up the program. There's new information and updates that change from year to year, so those can have some good information for you, even if you've been using TaxAct for a long time. And speaking of that, I also want to mention that in the program, there's a latest news and updates link in the upper right corner of your Client Manager. And this is new this year, and we added that so that you can go to this page and access the latest and greatest information about releases and updates that we've made to the software. So there are only 2 now listed, and of course that's because we just recently made our software available. So if you want details about what's changed, this is where you want to go. As well, make sure you click on this latest news link. This will have breaking types of news. This is information that we can get out in real time, essentially. So make sure you're accessing the latest news and updates link from your Client Manager to find out information about what's new, any bugs that we know about, and fixes for, as well as general information that anyone using our software needs to know. All right, so some of you who have been on previous webinars have likely heard of this, Topics Assistant, and this is the return of forms and topics from previous year products. Topics Assistant actually has some more robust features than what our forms and topics did. So I'm going to go into a return. I'm going to click on the Q&A. Then I'm going to go to Tools and Topics Assistant. Now here, this information is specific to this tax return that I'm working on. So this is the only section of the return that I've touched. Now, this check mark doesn't mean that that section of the return is actually complete. It's just that I've edited information in there. So don't necessarily mistake this for being it's all done. It might be in progress still. So you've got all of these. You've got a snapshot of where you're at within the return, and then you can navigate directly to that part of the Q&A. So note, it added this little arrow or caret here. And then you can navigate to all these other areas as you wish. You can also look up information like so, and it'll bring you right to that. And if you also notice, as I type it's bringing up suggested topics that makes it a little bit easier and faster to navigate to. So again, this is the Topics Assistant, and you navigate to that by going into the Q&A, clicking on Tools, and then clicking on Topics Assistant. The other area, nice to see, or nice to use when you need information, is the Answer Center. And I know I brought this up a little bit ago with Stock Assistant, but I'm going to go back to that. And like I said, the information that you, and for whatever reason, it doesn't like Stock Assistant. So when you go to this, when you get your results, the first column is FAQs, and also our tax tutor guidance, which is tips, advice, expert hints about different tax topics. Whereas on the right, this column allows you to navigate right to that section. So if I click on here, I went to the Stock Assistant. And I have to go back to the Answer Center. So down here, this is also an easy way that you can get in contact with us for help, whether that's tax or technical help. We can help you via phone or email. That also brings me to the point that you can access all of our support options by going to our website, which is taxactprofessional.com, and then on the support page here, if you scroll down, there's information about how to get in contact with us. So tax and technical help, use the information in the first box. And if you're looking for help with orders, payments, call our sales line, which is in the third box. I also want to point out on this page, there are trending FAQs and videos that might be helpful. So before, you know, if you have some time and can look up the answer for yourself, try one of these links on this page. All right, and at any point, I do want to note here, we have our email addresses listed here. Email address, or the emails that you send to us, we'll answer those typically within 1 to 2 business days, unless your situation requires us to look, do a little deeper research. It might take another day or two. Whereas with the phone, our phone hours are listed here. Currently, since it's not tax season, we are open Monday through Friday, and then during season we have extended hours. Another place that's a great resource, if you have questions, is if you go to Resources, click Getting Started. This is where we have a lot of information as it relates to setting up your software, downloading your software, all of that. Our setup guide is accessible here, and then several FAQs that are related to those topics. If you need to access information for last year, feel free to click on the tax year 2015, and then it switches over. Now notice the professional reports, which is our e-filing report, that guide will be available closer to mid-January when our e-file reporting is actually live. So a reminder, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the questions box. And I have just a couple more slides to go through. Okay. We talked about the latest news and updates. One other thing that I wanted to make sure to point out is, you know what, I'll just go back to program. All right. The other thing I want to point out is bookmarks. So you can access any ones that you've already have saved up in your main navigation, but these are bookmarks. So you can do this in the Q&A. In the forms view, this is not available, but in the Q&A, so if you knew you wanted to come back to this, just click on that star. And when it's yellow, it's bookmarked. And then if, for example, you have a list of 10 of them, you can click bookmarks and then navigate directly to that one from this window. The other thing I wanted to point out was, so the Topics Assistant, you can navigate to specific forms and topics from there. You can also do that from your tree view on the left side of your forms view. You can navigate to, now I don't have any states installed, but if you had states installed, you could select a specific state. You can navigate to here. You can navigate to these more specific buckets, and then you can navigate directly from here. Now these are the attachments that I had saved in Document Manager, which again is specific to Enterprise. But there are a lot of different and easy ways to navigate to the information and parts of the return that you need to. It's mainly a matter of how you're most comfortable doing so. So all of this information is also in the setup guide that I showed you on our website here. So I encourage you to check that out. There are clickable links on here so that you can navigate directly to the different parts of the PDF without having to look through all the screens or all the sheets. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I know I went over a lot of information, not necessarily in a lot of depth, so if you have questions, just let me know. All right. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to enter any questions that you might have. All right. Well, I hope this webinar was helpful. You know, if you've been using TaxAct for several years, there are always new things that we've added or little changes that have been made. So be sure you take a few minutes before a season to make sure that you've checked out what's new. Go to that latest news and updates page to see what is new from last year. If you're brand new to TaxAct, you know, like I said, preview editions are available now, so you can download it, get all set up. You can go through a few, go through your workflow and see how it all works, so that when you actually are ready to file actual client returns, you can do that quickly and easily. So there is one question here: being a new user, how do I enter prior year returns? And that is a good question. So to do that, you can be in your client manager, or you can be in a return. It really doesn't matter. You just have to click File in the main navigation, Import, and then here are your options. You've got last year's TaxAct returns or last year's return, 1040 return prepared by these 8 other providers. So all you do is you have to have that PDF printed and saved on your PC somewhere. And then once you select this, so I'll just do this for fun. Once you select your provider, then you would go and find the PDFs that you have saved on your network. And then you would select them and then you would open. And then it'll pull in information. You'll want to take a look at the information that imported from that PDF to make sure everything looks good. You can do that at the time that you import or later. It's very easy and very fast. Another question is, will this webinar be available to watch later? Yes, it will. I kind of chuckled because if I were you guys, I certainly wouldn't want to listen to me again. But yes, it will be posted on our website soon. Okay. If not prepared by listing. If you are using a software not listed in this prior year import window, you can try and import the PDF. Now I know that these 8 companies that we have listed here, those are tried and true. You know, we've specifically coded and done testing with those returns. Whereas if any that aren't listed here, our PDF import may still work for the 1040, but it may not be as comprehensive as the ones listed above. But you can certainly try the PDF import. So I think I've answered all the questions. I apologize again for the beginning of the webinar where my screen wasn't showing. I am clearly technically challenged this afternoon, so my apologies. And again, this will be posted on our website within the next few days so that you can re-listen to parts of it or all of it if you'd like to do that. I thank you for joining me, and if you have further questions, please feel free to contact us. I'm going to throw our information up here on the screen. You can contact us by phone or email. And to register for upcoming webinars, I've listed that web address. You can also watch recordings of previous webinars there. So I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for joining our webinar, and most importantly, thank you for choosing TaxAct Professional. Have a good afternoon.